I finally finished reading Classroom of the Elite second year volume 12, and overall this is probably one of my new favorite volumes of second year because there were so much things that happened and it really showed just how ruthless Ayanokoji can be, but also showed us just how easy an exam is when it comes to Ayanokoji, as he already has everything lined up and all he has to do is just set everything in motion. Now of course, like always, this is going to contain spoilers, so if you're not up to date with the series or you haven't read the newest volume, then you have been warned, as this is going to contain a lot of spoilers. So now that that's out of the way, let's get started with the second end of the year exam arc. So we start off with, of course, a character monologue in which it's none other than Ichinose's teacher, Hoshinomiya, and it's revealed that she has a love-hate kind of relationship when it comes to Chabashira, since for those who don't know, in second year volume 5, this being the unanimous exam arc, it was revealed in that arc that Chabashira and Hoshinomiya were classmates and they were just so close to getting into class A. However, Chabashira's decision in that exam that she took not only resulted in them not being able to graduate in class A, but it also completely destroyed the relationship between Chabashira and Hoshinomiya. And we come to find out in this monologue that Hoshinomiya, the only reason why she was even a teacher to begin with was because she found out that Chabashira was going to become a teacher, and most likely the reason being was because even if she wasn't able to graduate class A, she wanted to feel like she did if her class were to graduate in class A. And ever since then, Hoshinomiya has made it a mission to make sure that not only does that not happen, but also wants to make sure that her class gets into class A no matter what it has to take. After this, we come back right to the present day, in which of course we see Ayanokoji's class getting ready to hear what Chabashira has to say for the next exam. And this exam is really important because it's the end of the year exam. So it's not surprising that the class is waiting to hear what Chabashira has to say for the contents of the exam. When Chabashira finally comes to the class, she first actually has a reflection and decides to discuss to the class how she's extremely grateful to have everybody that she has now be part of her class, something that even she admits she would never have said in the beginning of first year, as at that point she was already getting exhausted and tired from having classes that never reached class A and they were always stuck in class D. And while all the people from the class were shocked and surprised to hear these words coming from Chabashira, Ayanokoji, who knew more about Chabashira's past than everybody else, just knew how much she has grown as a person, just like the other people from his class. But after this, Chabashira gets straight to the exam and starts to explain what's it going to be about. She explains how in this exam there's actually going to be 3 important roles, this being the vanguard, the middle guard, and a general, and the class that they'll be competing with will be class D, since class A, this being Sakanagi's class, is going to be competing with class C, this being Ryuen's class. However, just when it seems as it's just going to be the beginning of the explanation of the exam, Chabashira stops talking, something that confuses the entire class, and asks why she hasn't said anything else. And this is because Chabashira reveals that that's all there has to be said about the exam for now, as the school has basically not even given the teachers all the information about the exam, something that's out of the ordinary for the class, as this has never happened before. And when they ask how they're going to be able to choose the people for those 3 specific roles, Chabashira's only advice is just to simply get the best of the best to be in those roles, as it's most likely going to be an exam that doesn't involve having people that have to be good physically. After this, Ayanokoji is walking with Kei. Not only is he thinking about the exam, but he's also thinking about the challenge that Sakayanagi and Ryuuen proposed. For those who don't remember, last volume, in volume 11, both Sakayanagi and Ryuuen made a bet that whoever lost in the next exam will be the ones to leave the school, a scenario that Ayanokoji didn't want to happen, and it's very obvious that he is planning to make sure that this doesn't happen. But at the same time, while Ayanokoji is thinking, Kei is of course questioning what he is thinking about. Ayanokoji tells Kei that they're most likely going to be spending less and less time in these recent times because of the exam, telling Kei that not only does he have to figure out what to do with this exam, but also tells her that he has to have conversations with all the leaders of the classes, something that Kei did not expect Ayanokoji to do. And obviously, one of the biggest reasons why she's very skeptical and not fond of this idea was because of course Ichinose is one of the leaders that he has to talk to. but Ayanokoji assures her that this is just going to be simply discussions about the exam. Even when Kei wants to spend time with Ayanokoji in his place, he still rejects it as he tells her that he is going to be very busy. Once Kei and Ayanokoji depart, Ayanokoji gets straight into business and starts arranging schedules to meet with the leaders. And while it did take some time, he finally got his schedule. The first person he's going to meet is none other than Horikita after school on Friday. And then afterwards, he's going to meet Ryuuen that same day on the evening. After Ryuuen, he's going to meet Ichinose on Sunday morning. And after Ichinose, he's going to meet Sakayanagi on Sunday night. But this is going to be in a phone call conversation, as it seems like even Sakayanagi is busy as well. The first discussion with Horikita actually revealed a few interesting things. Not only did Ayanokoji could easily tell that Horikita was worried, and she herself even admits it, and it's because since Shabashiro didn't give too much details about the exam, she doesn't really have a full idea on how to pass this exam. But this is also during this conversation that Ayanokoji reveals to Horikita that if he makes him general instead of her, then he is going to go all out and show her what he is capable of, and that with him the class is definitely going to win. But the catch is that once he does this, he is never going to do something like this ever again. So basically, Ayanokoji is going to do similar things like Koenji did during the island exam, where Koenji went all out, but that's probably going to be the first and last time that he's going to show his full potential. But Ayanokoji also adds a few steps in as well. He states that if Horikita is able to actually win the exam on her own without his help, then this deal isn't going to happen. But also, even if he does go all out and they end up still losing, then he is going to help her in whatever she needs to get the class into class A. Even if it's something that he doesn't want to do, he is going to do it for at least 6 months. After this proposal, Horikita decides to accept the offer, but Ayanokoji tells her that if he's going to be general, she should actually be able to convince the other classmates to accept this, as most likely there are going to be some that may not be a huge fan of Ayanokoji being a general. But also makes it very clear that this information does not need to slip, and nobody apart from their class needs to find out who is going to be the general for this exam. Something that Horikita promises is going to make sure that that doesn't happen. After his meeting with Horikita, Ayanokoji decides to kill some time before he meets Ryuuen, but it was during this that he actually meets Haruka, who, when she sees Ayanokoji, actually comes up to him and asks if they could have some conversation with just the two of them. Ayanokoji accepts and they decide to go somewhere private, but it's very obvious that Haruka is having trouble having a conversation with him, most likely because of everything that happened between him and the Ayanokoji group. And Ayanokoji reveals that he hasn't talked to Haruka ever since the school festival, but just when it seems that Haruka is finally going to say some words, somebody interrupts their conversation, and that somebody is none other than Ichika, who, unsurprisingly, due to her personality, she says a few remarks that don't sound all that well, like when she tells Ayanokoji that she can't believe that she saw him with another girl even though he already has a girlfriend, this being Kei, and that most likely he's into girls that, let's just say, have big features that not many girls have. Upon this interruption, Haruka decides to leave, not really saying anything else. When Haruka leaves, Ichika decides to tell Ayanokoji if he really hates Haruka that bad that he had to signal her to interrupt the conversation, revealing that Ayanokoji had no intentions of talking to Haruka, and he states very coldly that that is exactly the case because, according to him, he didn't want to be wasting his time on something that is so unnecessary to do, something that Ichika isn't too surprised in hearing it coming from him. This is where Ayanokoji asks Ichika about the state of the first years, since when he was meeting Horikita, he noticed that there was barely any first years outside. Ichika confesses that there is a lot of things going on within the first year students, and that just like them, they're also dealing with their battles as well. And it's here that Ayanokoji actually asks Ichika if she could do something for him. When Ichika asks what he wants her to do, he tells her that he wants her to look into Nanase, something that of course confuses Ichika, as Nanase has made it very clear that she wants to be Ayanokoji's ally. However, here's where Ayanokoji reveals that he's not really too sure about Nanase yet. Even though she does state that she wants to be an ally for him, he still doesn't really know who actually is Nanase, and he wants Ichika, since they're in the first year, to look into her and see what she's actually wanting to do. Ichika accepts, although in Ayanokoji's mind, he states how he could have easily done this all on his own, but he actually wanted Ichika to do something and to be busy. After this, Ayanokoji decides to head to the karaoke room where he is going to meet Ryuuen. Nothing really interesting happens in this discussion, but the only interesting thing about this is how Ryuuen seems to be very excited to have his battle with Sakayanagi. But he also asks Ayanokoji in this discussion if he shouldn't be worried about Ichinose, since he himself has seen just how much of a drastic change she has gotten ever since second year. But Ayanokoji brushes it off, saying that it's not really something too important, and that even though she has changed significantly, she still has a lot to learn. After this, Ayanokoji is walking back to his dormitory, but takes a detour as he's going to meet someone. When he reaches the vending machine, this someone would be revealed to be Yamamura. They have a small talk, but here's where Ayanokoji tells Yamamura about something that he has on his mind. When she hears what he has to say, Yamamura tells Ayanokoji that while she may not have too much information, she actually does have something on her phone, this being a video of two specific people having a secret meeting. Something that Ayanokoji is impressed that Yamamura even managed to get a video of, since it's basically obvious based on the location that these two people were, that they were trying really hard to be secretive and make sure that nobody was spying on them. Once Ayanokoji sees the video, he thanks Yamamura for what she did for him and quickly contacts Kei to meet a specific person. This specific person will be revealed to be Matsushita, and once he has a conversation with her, something seems to be able to be confirmed. Now, this is going to be important later on in the story, so I'm not going to reveal what it is yet, but just know that something is going to happen because of this information that Ayanokoji got. After this, there's actually a brief moment between Hashimoto and Ayanokoji, and while nothing too interesting happens in the discussion, we can obviously tell based on what they were talking that Hashimoto is in a really bad place because of the bet that Sakayanagi and Ryuuen made, as now he has to wait what's going to be the outcome of this, and if Sakayanagi wins and Ryuuen loses, then he's going to have a hard time being with Sakayanagi's class since he was a traitor and his actions resulted in Komuro leaving the school. And let me remind you, Komuro was somebody that now Sakayanagi acknowledges as somebody that she deeply had a close relationship with. So Ayanokoji can tell in these moments that Hashimoto is not having a great time. Sunday comes along, and the first thing that Ayanokoji does is of course have his meeting with Ichinose. When he meets Ichinose, Ichinose wonders if this is a good idea since somebody could see them, or maybe Kei could see them as well. Ayanokoji tells her that that's not necessary to worry about as he already told Kei about their meeting. But while this conversation was brief, he could tell very quickly that Ichinose knew something that she wasn't revealing, but he just brushed it off as he didn't want to get too into details about it and just wanted to check if she was ready for the next exam. However, when he decides to go to the gym after working out, somebody's waiting for him, and this is Kanzaki, who reveals that he knows about what is going on with Horikita's class, this being that he knows that Ayanokoji has intentions of being the general for the exam. This of course is something that Ayanokoji piques his interest because Kanzaki seems to be very well known of the specific role that Ayanokoji was going to be. And while he obviously denies it, it's very clear to him that Kanzaki's suspicions wasn't just simply a mere coincidence, as it's very obvious that somebody must have told them about this information. And while Kanzaki pleads to Ayanokoji not to be the general as he didn't want to lose in this exam, Ayanokoji just simply tells him that it's up to Horikita as she's technically the one that's choosing the roles for this exam. Later that night, Ayanokoji gets his call with Sakayanagi, who seems to be ready for bed and is going to have this quick conversation before she sleeps. She tells Ayanokoji, just like Ryuuen, that she's very excited for this exam because she can finally take down Ryuuen once and for all. But she also tells Ayanokoji how she's actually changed quite a lot. She's actually trying to get closer with a few of her classmates, one of them being of course Yamamura, since back then she always thought of her as just somebody that she had to use to get information if Kamura wasn't available at that moment, but now she's trying to actually have a bond with her, and this just goes to show that Sakayanagi, just like Ayanokoji, at some point is actually trying to have relationships with different kinds of people. She no longer views the other people that aren't just as smart as her beneath her, and is actually trying to have some sort of communication or relationship with them without a hidden agenda. And as much as she wanted to keep talking to Ayanokoji decides to wrap up the conversation, as he could tell that Sakayanagi is starting to get sleepy, and it's obviously that she wants to rest. The day of the exam has finally come, and here we will get to see what Horikita's class chose to be the representatives. The vanguard is none other than Hirata, the middle guard is of course Horikita, and obviously the general is Ayanokoji. All three of them enter a room where the other representatives for each of the classes are. And while they weren't surprised with Ichinose's picks, this being her, Kanzaki, and Hamaguchi, they were puzzled by not only Sakayanagi's picks, but also Ryuuen's picks. Sakayanagi's team consisted of her, Kito, and Sanada, whereas Ryuuen's representatives were him, Kanzaki, and Nishino. Now, the reason why they were puzzled by these choices was because Nishino, despite Class C not having the strongest females compared to the other classes, Hiyori was still a very understandable choice that Ryuuen could have chosen, but he decided not to. And the same could be said with Sakayanagi, as Kito was not really the ideal choice to make, as there was more better candidates than him, which makes Horikita realize that there's probably something going on and that there's a reason why these two in particular were chosen. Also, this next moment is kind of funny because it's a reminder of something that Ayanokoji did way back in first year, and this is because during this all happening, Horikita was extremely nervous, and it was obvious that she was having a ton of thoughts in her head. So in order to snap her back to reality, Ayanokoji decides to tickle her once again, something that he has not done in quite a while, which of course causes a scene, as due to Horikita not expecting this makes a ton of noises, and of course she is rightfully embarrassed and also angry that Ayanokoji decided to do this once again. But lets it go, since Ayanokoji reminded her that this was the only way that she could come back to her senses, since it was obvious just how nervous she truly was. After everyone has settled down, the rules of the exam are now finally explained. Now there is a lot of information, so I'm going to try to make it very simple. Basically, the representative chooses a group from the 5 groups of 7 participants in each class, totaling 14 people. They observe the discussion as the roles are distributed randomly among the 14 participants. The participants don't compete as classes, but according to the roles in the discussion. The participants' lives increase or decrease according to whether they get the roles right or wrong. A discussion ends when the 2 exemplary students are eliminated. If the representative's life is still intact, the discussion begins with another group. Throughout the competition, each class can assign a special role known as traitor to a student from the opposing class, only once. In the dialogue, a participant is called up each round for a conversation. Where the dialogue takes place, the participant makes a confession, the representative makes a decision, and the result reveals whether they are a traitor or not. The traitor survives until the end of the discussion. The class gains 50 class points or 5 million private points. However, if the traitor is caught, and not only do they deny it, but the representative confirms it upon lying to them, they get expelled instantly. And the only way to win in this exam is when the general's lives are at 0. After this explanation, the representatives are given time to have one last discussion between each other, and while Ichinose and Horikita's group does have a conversation, of course, Ryuuen and Sakayanagi seem to not have any discussion, almost as if they have planned everything ahead of time. It was actually during this one last discussion between each other that Ayanokoji asked Horikita if he could have the rights to choosing the traitor. Something that Horikita isn't really that willing to give, as not only can this be used once, but this is basically a trump card to turn the tables around in case things aren't going exactly as planned. But here's where Ayanokoji offers another deal to Horikita, telling her that if he has this right but they end up losing either way, he is going to fully cooperate with her until graduation. Upon hearing this, Horikita decides to give Ayanokoji the right to choose the traitor, and with that, Ayanokoji signals Ryuuen to have one last private conversation before the exam. But as Ayanokoji is leaving the classroom in order to talk to Ryuuen privately, somebody decides to talk to him that he probably wasn't expecting, and this is none other than Hoshinomiya, who has no hesitation in telling Ayanokoji to actually not win and to give the winning to Ichinose's class, something that Ayanokoji can't accept since this is something that's not worth risking. Even though Hoshinomiya promises Ayanokoji that if he does what she tells him, she's not only going to leak the upcoming test information if she has information about it, but she's perfectly fine doing whatever he wants her to do, and she means anything. You can kind of see where this is going, and Ayanokoji straight up knew where this was going to go. But despite these offers, Ayanokoji simply refuses, as he of course made the deal with Horikita that if they lose, even with his help and he goes all out, he has to fully comply with her in anything that she demands him to do from now on. The test begins, and the first battle to see is a battle between the vanguards, between Class B against Class D. The first people of course are Hirata versus Hamaguchi, and this battle actually goes that fast because unfortunately while Hirata could tell during the discussions that people were being deceptive, he couldn't tell the signs of when someone was not being their usual self. Because of this, he lost tremendously, resulting in him being the first one of Ayanokoji's group to lose. And this is exactly what also happened between the battle between Nishino and Sanada. Sanada didn't even have to do anything for Nishino to fully self-destruct, as due to her panicking and not thinking straight and making so many mistakes, she basically eliminated herself. And while Sanada felt bad, at the end of the day there could only be one winner and one loser. But despite his battle with Nishino being that easy, it wouldn't be the same when his battle with Katsuragi began, because despite Katsuragi not being part of Class A anymore, he knew how everybody from that class behaved or acted, something that Sanada wasn't able to pick up, and is a clear reminder that while Katsuragi is no longer part of Class A, he still knows very well his classmates, or at least tries to know how they act or behave. Something that Sanada didn't do because Katsuragi was able to fully destroy him without putting too much effort. After Sanada was defeated, the next opponent that Katsuragi would have to battle would be Kito, but it seems that Kito wasn't really having his priorities straight, as he also made some very reckless decisions that even Katsuragi was surprised and couldn't believe he was actually making. But it's very obvious that Kito has something else in mind, as he will reveal very quickly that he really had intention on going up against Ryuuen, but Katsuragi informs him that that's not going to happen if he keeps making the decisions that he is doing and keeps getting things wrong. This of course doesn't make Kito happy, but it didn't really matter, as Katsuragi, just like Sanada, was able to defeat Kito just like that. This of course infuriates Kito to the point that he actually grabs Katsuragi's shirt, that results in the people who are watching the exam to over and over again demand Kito to let go of Katsuragi. But this didn't really stop him, and he didn't let go until he was ultimately threatened that if he doesn't let go soon, then the consequences are going to be dire. Ultimately, Kito decides to finally let go of Katsuragi, but there seems to be a reason as to why he did this, and this will be revealed very soon. After Horikita was able to successfully defeat Hamaguchi, her next opponent would be none other than Kanzaki. But very quickly Horikita notices that Kanzaki seems to really just seem to have lost it all and not focusing on the test, because Kanzaki multiple times during the exam has begged Horikita to let them win, since Class D is in a very critical state, as if they don't win this exam, their chance of getting into Class A becomes 0. But despite him begging and even bowing numerous times to Horikita, Horikita doesn't budge, because just like them, she too wants to get to Class A, and she's almost there if she passes this exam. Upon seeing that Horikita isn't going to accept his offer, Kanzaki just simply gives up on the test, at this point basically making Horikita the clear winner. And that's exactly what would happen. While this was all happening, there was actually another battle taking place, the battle between Katsuragi and Sakayanagi. And even though Katsuragi tried to play it off like he didn't really care that his opponent was Sakayanagi. That was far from the case, and Sakayanagi noticed this very quickly, as she could tell from his demeanor that he was out to get her. And it's obviously because of the many things that Katsuragi had to go through during his time with Class A because of Sakayanagi. Not to mention that his right hand man had to leave the school because of Sakayanagi during the in-class voting exam during the first year. And while the old Sakayanagi would have probably brushed his anger and his resentment towards her off, she actually starts to understand why Katsuragi feels the way he feels towards her, and she can't really blame him, but at the same time, just because he had a reason to hate her doesn't mean that she was going to let him win. And she reveals to Katsuragi how she knew that Katsuragi was out for revenge against her, since his tie was all crooked. He didn't notice it when Kito was grabbing it that it became disorganized. So when Sakayanagi noticed that Katsuragi's tie still wasn't fixed even after his battle with Kito, it did demonstrate very clearly to her that Katsuragi, all in his mind, all he could think about at that moment was him finally having his chance to go have a battle with her. Something that Katsuragi comes to realization and now fully understands why Kito was behaving and acting the way he was. Most likely because he was given orders by Sakayanagi to mess with Katsuragi's tie for her. And while Katsuragi tried his very best to take down Sakayanagi, it didn't really matter because Sakayanagi is just on another level. While Katsuragi was able to take one life away from her, that didn't stop her from just completely destroying him, making her final battle with Ryuuen possible, and is the battle that she's been wanting to have all this time. But before we get to see this battle, another battle would happen, this being the battle between Ichinose and Horikita. And while Horikita was confident in her abilities, thinking that she's finally been able to improve her skills, she would come to realize that Ichinose was simply so much more better than her, and that she has yet to learn a lot of things and she has to improve a lot more. It was very unfortunate to see just how Horikita's confidence and spirit slowly kept breaking every time Horikita was forced to make a move that resulted in her losing her lives, whereas in Ichinose's case, she was calm, collected, and really knew what she was doing. What made Horikita have a chill down her spine was seeing Ichinose always having a smile on her face, almost as if she was enjoying this battle and she didn't really seem to be worried about what the outcome might be. This only made Horikita's nervousness show even more, something that Ichinose was able to pick up and take full advantage, making actions that Horikita did not see coming or couldn't be able to counter. And slowly, Horikita came to realize that she wasn't going to be able to pass this exam without Ayanokoji's help, something that she really did not want it to happen, as she was really looking forward to being able to not only win against Ichinose, but to prove to Ayanokoji that she has become a much more better person and that she could do things without him, only for her to realize in these moments that this may not be the case, and now may have to rely on Ayanokoji passing this exam. And before you know it, Ichinose will be the clear winner, making her and Ayanokoji's battle become a reality. And when Ayanokoji sees her once again, he could tell that not only Horikita lost, but her spirit was broken. And even though Horikita, when she saw Ayanokoji, was trying to be positive and list all the many things that made Ichinose such a great opponent, Ayanokoji could tell that there was a hint of anger, sadness, and frustration. Most likely this wasn't towards Ichinose, although you could argue that maybe a little bit is towards Ichinose, but the most of it is of course towards herself. Frustrated that despite everything she did, despite all her efforts and her trying to be a better person, not just for her own sake but for the class's sake, it still wasn't enough to defeat somebody that according to her was leagues better than her. And just like in the first year, Ayanokoji told Horikita that she didn't have to put on a brave face and that she could let out all her feelings. And while Horikita was hesitant, just like in first year, she of course showed hints of sadness and we could see tears in her eyes. This is where Ayanokoji decides to hug Horikita which not only surprised her, but she was a bit resistant about it. She slowly came to accept it, as this was probably the only way she could get comforted at this moment. And this is where Horikita is told by Ayanokoji that she should leave everything to him, as he is going to make sure that their class gets the victory on this exam. And despite him and Ichinose's relationship being really good, he is fully having the intentions of defeating Ichinose without any regret. Once Ayanokoji steps into the room in order to battle Ichinose, he is very quick to use his strategy, the one that he's been building all this time. Ayanokoji tells Ichinose that they should both use their traders option in the first round, something that catches Ichinose off guard, as it seems to be very extreme to go to that option very quickly and right from the start of their battle. But this is where Ayanokoji tells her and convinces her to use it, since he says to her, not only will it be beneficial for her class, but it will also prevent them from using it against each other in case things aren't going too well. After enough thinking, Ichinose decides to accept Ayanokoji's offer and decides to use the trader's option, convincing Ichinose to pick Mizuno, one of his classmates, to be the trader, something that Ichinose does right away. And when Ayanokoji is having his discussion with Mizuno, because this is something that's part of the exam, he leads Mizuno to declare that she is not the traitor in their conversation. Upon hearing this, Ayanokoji declares that Mizuno is the traitor, and because she denied it, this of course because of the rules that state that if the traitor denies it but the representative confirms that they are the traitor, they get immediately expelled. That's exactly what will happen to Mizuno, as she will be expelled. Of course, she is shocked and confused as to why Ayanokoji did that, since in her mind she was made to believe that Ayanokoji was helping her. That was not the case. As Ayanokoji states, there's a reason why he wanted her to be expelled, and it's because he found out that she's the one who has been spilling information to Hashimoto. This ties back, correct me if I'm wrong, to the conversations that he had with Yamamura and Matsushita, as now everything makes sense, as Ayanokoji all this time behind the scenes was investigating who was the person who was actually leaking information from the class to other people, and it seems that his investigation led to Mizuno, since he found out that Hashimoto and Mizuno were going out, but in reality Hashimoto was just simply using her to get information. And when Kanzaki confronted him about the leaked information that he found out, in which Ayanokoji was going to be the general, he put the pieces together that Hashimoto most likely told Ichinose about him being the general. And even though Mizuno desperately tried to apologize and ask for forgiveness and promise that she will never leak information again, the person that she was saying this to was none other than Ayanokoji, who, as we know by now, is not the person that cares about other people's feelings or what they want. It's what he wants and what he is trying to accomplish. So despite her desperate pleas for help and forgiveness, Ayanokoji fully declares that she is the traitor, leading to Mizuno being a fit of rage, declaring to Ayanokoji that she will never forgive him, and so much so that she actually tried to go after him, and this resulted in one of the people in charge of the test trying to calm her down and take control of her before she did anything to Ayanokoji. Although let's be honest, Ayanokoji could have easily been able to dodge any attack that she was probably going to throw at him, so she was still going to lose either way. Seeing all this, Ichinose was at a loss for words. She couldn't believe that Ayanokoji did this to begin with, as it seemed that Ayanokoji had no intentions of getting rid of someone, let alone someone from his class. And this is where Ayanokoji reveals a bombshell to Ichinose that this was the plan all along. He needed her to be convinced that this was a good situation to be in, whereas if she used her trader's option, she didn't have to worry about nobody from her class being expelled. And while that did happen, she was still not satisfied. She was still confused and shocked that Ayanokoji did this strategy to begin with. But once again, this is where Ayanokoji tells her straight to her face that all this time he has been using her for his own plans. Everything that he has said and done for her was all for the sake of a big plan that he had behind the scenes. Something that Ichinose is once again shocked to hear, but the biggest shock that she had to hear was when Ayanokoji revealed how it wasn't really Sakayanagi who actually was the one responsible for spreading the rumors of her past in first year. She's still confused, but this is where Ayanokoji tells her, has she ever thought that maybe Sakayanagi wasn't the only person that actually knew about these rumors? And what if it was him that played a role in those rumors being spread to begin with? At that point, Ichinose's mind was completely broken. The person she felt happy being around, the person that she had feelings for, was the person that made her go through a lot of pain and suffering. But despite giving her all this information, afterwards Ayanokoji went back to like if everything was normal, as he accomplished the plan that he had all along. And it was to once again break Ichinose, and it worked because as the test continued, Ichinose's mind was not focusing on the test. She was still processing everything that Ayanokoji said to her, and she wasn't thinking straight, which is exactly why Ayanokoji ended up winning the battle against Ichinose, making Class B the winner and Class D the losers. And finally, we have the battle that many were probably waiting for, and that is the battle between Ryuuen and Sakayanagi. Both of them, since the start of the round, showed that they were trying to get the best of each other. And even though at one point Sakayanagi actually tried to use a cheap tactic by making one of their members of Class A targeting one of Ryuuen's classmates, which resulted in that classmate getting angry and almost led to a fight breaking out. This is where Ryuuen once again showed that he knew that Sakayanagi was going to do some sort of cheap tactic, and this will reveal why Hiyori wasn't part of the representatives. And this is because he made sure that Hiyori was the person that was there in case something were to happen. Since Hiyori was very good at easing up the tension, Ryuuen's thinking worked since Hiyori was able to make sure that no fight broke out, making it once again show that Hiyori is very good at calming people down with just her words, making it very hard for people to go against her. This of course led to Sakayanagi being impressed, but of course the test kept going on. But despite Ryuuen having confidence that he was going to beat Sakayanagi, he slowly started to realize as he started to lose lives, and no matter what he did to attack Sakayanagi during the test, she always had a counter, making her going to be the one to win. And just when it seemed that Sakayanagi had a clear victory and she was confident that just one more move she was going to be the winner, Ryuuen reveals how it seems that Ayanokoji was able to predict this outcome, stopping Sakayanagi at her tracks, in which she becomes now interested in what Ayanokoji's involvement had to do with their battle. Ryuuen revealed that he actually had a message from Ayanokoji that he wanted him to send to her. When Sakayanagi hears the message, it actually involves Hashimoto, in which Ayanokoji basically tells Sakayanagi to talk to Hashimoto to see what his true intentions really are. And Sakayanagi does just that. She talks to Hashimoto as it's revealed that Ryuuen made Hashimoto be the traitor. And upon having this conversation with Sakayanagi, in which she could have easily gotten rid of him by expelling him since he was responsible for what happened with Kamuro, finally gets to realize what kind of person Hashimoto truly is. He is somebody who is extremely scared and just simply wants not to live in fear, since he would reveal that ever since he was little, he was always being chased down by people who were after him, and this led to him having this bad habit of always going to the bathroom as a comfort place, since that was the only place he went to hide. This was such an emotional moment that even Hashimoto, who we didn't think was somebody who would do this, ended up having a tear drop from his eye. Even he himself was confused as to why he was beginning to cry, but this is where Sakayanagi realized what was Ayanokoji's true intentions when she had to talk to Hashimoto, and that is to not only forgive him, but to simply work with him once again. As in reality, Hashimoto is not really an evil person, he's just a broken person who just desperately tries to survive any way he can. Whether it's lying, betraying, or using people, that's how he was able to get through in life without having to have the chance to get along with people or have close relationships with people. And ultimately this will end with Sakayanagi not only giving Hashimoto another chance, but pretty much just losing on purpose. But despite Sakayanagi losing on purpose and Ryuuen being the winner of the exam, he doesn't really feel satisfied, as at the end of the day he still lost, because even if this didn't happen, Sakayanagi would have easily beaten him, which could resulted in him having been expelled right then and there. But due to Ayanokoji's interference, that will not happen, as Ryuuen and Sakayanagi basically their bet will be called off, all because Ayanokoji did not want any of them to be expelled. And that's where the story ends for volume 12 of second year. There are the short stories, and I think some of them are very interesting. Like with Ichinose's short story, she seems to be very happy, and she claims how she even wants to be seen by somebody with Ayanokoji, which did not age well. And then you have Horikita's short story, in which we get to see just how firsthand so nervous and scared she was for the exam, but she also recalls how her old self wouldn't really have anybody by her side, and she would always have to deal with her problems all on her own. Now she has somebody like Ayanokoji, who, despite it being a mystery still of who he is in her eyes, she's come to really get used to his presence and doesn't mind it one bit. Not to mention that in a way she kind of confirms that she does view Kushida and Ibuki as close friends, although she doesn't really say it, she just interprets it, and she finds it hard to believe that these two are the people that she talks to a lot nowadays, which is something that she wouldn't expect would have happened when she was first starting in this school. And then you have Ryuuen, in which once again he clearly wants to take out Ayanokoji, but at the same time he still notices that Ayanokoji doesn't really view him as somebody worth fighting yet, and that is something that bothers Ryuuen a lot, and it's only a matter of time where they'll eventually have another rematch soon. And in Sakayanagi's short story, she reveals just how in love she is with Ayanokoji, how just the thought of them having a phone call between each other is really something that she really looks forward to, and it made her really happy. And even if Ayanokoji wasn't worried about her during the test, or if she was going to survive the test, she kind of hoped that Ayanokoji deep down somewhere was worried for her, because if that were the case, that would have made her even more happy. So yeah, overall this volume was peak. I do know that there's some people who kind of don't like where Kanzaki's character direction went, and I think that's understandable, because yeah, he was built up to be somebody more interesting, but now he's just simply a broken character who clearly is just desperate to try to get to class A. And then of course you have the battle between Sakayanagi and Ryuuen that was hyped up, only for none of them to be expelled, which of course some people are not huge fans of that, because they wanted at least one of them to be expelled. But at the same time, you also have to realize that Ayanokoji was never even going to let this happen to begin with, because remember, Ayanokoji already has a plan for where he wants everybody to be at. It's obvious that he wants specific characters to follow a specific direction, and that's exactly what he's going to do, and he's going to make sure that that plan is in motion no matter what it takes. And apart from that, the rest of the volume was just really well done. I am really looking forward to see what will happen in volume 12.5. It's already been confirmed that this is going to be the next volume, although once again it may not be out for quite a while, as unfortunately the author's health hasn't really improved, as he stated in his comments that he didn't want to wait too long for the next release of the volume, so he pushed through. But this of course made his health not really great, so now he's planning to take things easy, which is perfectly fine, because I already said this numerous times. But once again, even though I would love to see more Classroom the Elite light novels, and can't wait to see what happens next with all the characters of this series, the author's health is far more important than what is next for Classroom the Elite, and that opinion isn't going to change. And yeah, that's basically the entire volume. Once again, 12.5 is the next volume, and I know already people are predicting what's going to happen. I've heard some people say about the K stuff that this is probably going to be where Ayanokoji and K are going to break up, which I do think this is going to probably be the volume where it's going to happen, because it's been hinted that these two aren't going to last long. But I'm also hoping that this is finally a start to once again K's character development, because we need to see more of her in third year, because she was not really a whole lot present in second year. So I'm hoping that happens. I am curious what's going to happen with Ichinose now that she has been completely broken by Ayanokoji. Is her views on him going to change, which I think it is drastically, and what's going to happen with Ichinose's class, but also Ichinose's teacher Hoshinomiya, because I'm not going to be surprised if they view Ayanokoji as now their number one enemy to deal with. And that's going to be very interesting to see if they go that route, that the entire class, Ichinose, decide to just simply go after Ayanokoji for what they not only did to Ichinose, but also for what he did with the class. But only time will tell. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.